So can you talk about when you graduated from college and what did you do right away?
I got married, actually, but I went to law school the following fall. When I went to law school, which I did at Yale, in my class of 170 or so, there were probably 7 women. I was married then to David Rosen. We both went to Yale. And I think he was completely comfortable and supportive of my going.
How do you think your experiences differed of law school?
I don't think he had the experience I had of being put on the spot. Various of the professors at law school would have ladies' day in their class, and they would say, okay, I'm only calling on the women in the class today with the questions I have, whatever they are.
So did you enjoy your experience in law school?
I dropped out of law school, actually. I dropped out after a year and a half, largely because I couldn't see what my career path was going to be. I didn't feel suited to or drawn to being in a big firm or in some establishment role, and I think that was largely what was put out there. When I dropped out, I started working for a lawyer in New Haven named Katie Rohrbach, who was just an amazingly wonderful advocate for people and had been involved was representing the social activists in New Haven. She had a solo practice in New Haven, and I just loved working for her and had developed a sense of what it would be like to be a lawyer. That motivated me to go back to law school.
How long did you take off from law school?
Only half a year. At the end of my 3rd year, I had half a year yet to do, and at that point in time, I had a child, Nick Rosen, who is my firstborn, was born at the end of that year, and so the last year I finished the last half year in 1 year.
Can you talk about the year that you were finishing school and assume your husband started working and you had an infant and how you managed that?
It was a big adjustment. I don't think I anticipated the total commitment of what having a child actually meant. I think it was the most wonderful experience having a child, and also the biggest change I think that I ever experienced in life.
So what did you do out of law school?
When I got out of law school, I went to work for a firm in Bridgeport, which was then called Koskoff, Rutkin, and Beater. And there were 6 lawyers, 6 of us there. And at that moment in history, the Black Panthers were being tried in Connecticut, and the Koskoff office had represented Lonnie McLucas, who was tried, one of the first people tried, and I specifically he was convicted of a very serious crime, and I was specifically working on his appeal when I went to work there. Then, however, I got involved in some other things almost immediately, 2 of which were very formative for me. One was that a group of people at the Yale Law School had decided that they wanted to challenge the Maury's exclusion of women. So I represented a group of people who sued to take away Maury's liquor license on the basis of its discriminatory policies. And then I also became involved with a group of Connecticut women who challenged Connecticut's anti-abortion statutes. The Maury's case, there were strong advocates for keeping male clubs as an institution. And so for me, the challenge was, how do you prove, how do you make a case to the Liquor Commission that this is an issue that they need to pay attention to, and they need to take away Maury's license for being discriminatory? So we had Yale witnesses who would testify about the fact that the important decisions at Yale, the corporation met at Maury's, the hiring entities came to Maury's to do interviews. It was denying access to a significant population in the Yale community not to allow women to be members at Maury's. And this was really a public institution that was just choosing to exclude people it didn't want there. So figuring out how to introduce the evidence and how to make it persuasive was just very important and challenging. And the Liquor Commission did rule in our favor and took away Maury's liquor license, both on the ground that it discriminated and was not operating as a private club. And then it was appealed to the Connecticut Supreme Court. They upheld the ultimate verdict. So that was that.
What was your involvement in the abortion rights case?
I think there were 5 lawyers. I don't remember the exact number. Then we were all women. All the plaintiffs were women. All our witnesses were women. I ended up being the one who argued most of the legal arguments in the case. One of the things that I am most, proud of, I guess, was that in working on the legal arguments in the case, it became clear to me early on that the legal battle was about at what point did the state's interest become sufficient to impose restrictions on abortion. And that got presented in our case, in our briefing, and ultimately became the trimester formulation that the U.S. Supreme Court adopted in Roe against Wade.